Why are you in my country? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, why are you in America?
Visiting.
I don't like you guys here.
Oh, is
There's
it?
too many of you guys here.
Oh,
Yeah, Indians, you guys are flooding all the white countries, and we're tired of it. Americans are getting sick of this shit.
okay.
Okay?
Alright.
I want you to go back to India. Tired of these fucking goddamn brown people invading our fucking country. Fucking bullshit.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of information, boil it down, and give you the really crucial insights. Today, we're looking at something pretty unsettling, actually, an incident that really grabbed national attention. It gives us this powerful look at some ongoing social tensions. We're going to do a deep dive into a specific anti-immigrant hate crime in Plano, Texas. We want to explore what it tells us about, xenophobia and intolerance, even in diverse places. Our mission here is to really understand the event, the reactions it caused, and what the bigger picture implications are. We're pulling from the Plano tirade, Anti-Immigrant Hate Crime in Texas report, and related sources that kind of track the incident and what happened afterwards. Okay, so let's get into it. The sources paint a really vivid picture of this disturbing encounter in Plano. Can you sort of set the scene for us? How did this first unfold?
Yeah, well, what the sources really point out is just how fast this thing blew up. It went from, a local confrontation to suddenly being talked about everywhere. And it wasn't just that it was caught on video, it was the rawness of it, the abuse, especially aimed at people just speaking their own language. That hit a nerve across the country. It almost immediately became this stark example of the racial tensions, the nativist feelings, favoring native-born people over immigrants that seemed much more visible then, especially during a time when, anti-immigrant talk had definitely seen a rise.
Right, so zooming in on the actual event, what specifically happened there in Plano?
Okay, so the reports say there was a group, 4 Indian American women. They were just outside a restaurant in Plano. This was late August 2022, apparently just talking among themselves in their native language. And that's when they were, aggressively harassed, faced racial abuse.
And the person doing this? The sources are quite blunt about her actions. What were the details there? Who was she and what did she do?
She was identified as Esmeralda Upton. And yeah, the video that went viral, it shows her confronting the women, just unleashing this stream of racial slurs, telling them to go back to India. Things like, "You're ruining America." Very direct stuff.
Wow.
And what's really chilling, and the sources make a point of this, is it wasn't just words. She physically assaulted them, too. And she even identified herself, claiming she was a Mexican-American citizen, and said something like she was tired of you people.
That specific claim adds another layer, doesn't it?
It does. It's complex. But that mix of verbal attack, the physical part, and how public it all was, it just sent these immediate shockwaves.
Okay, so that leads us to the aftermath. The reaction to the video going viral seems like a huge part of this story. The reports talk about a really swift response, legally and socially. What happened next?
Yeah, the source material says it was remarkably quick. Esmeralda Upton, she was arrested very fast and then charged with assault. But crucially, also charged with a hate crime under Texas law.
Okay, and the hate crime charge, that's significant, right?
Absolutely, because, as the sources explain, in Texas, a hate crime charge needs evidence the crime was driven by prejudice, race, color, national origin, things like that. And it usually means tougher penalties. The Plano police, local officials, they were very quick, very clear in condemning what she did. No ambiguity there.
And what about outside the official legal system? How did civil rights groups, community organizations react? Our sources seem to highlight their role quite a bit.
You're right. If you look at the bigger picture here, groups like Cook Care, that's the Council on American Islamic Relations, and various South Asian American advocacy groups, they spoke out immediately, loudly. Their involvement, which the report's detail really highlights, that these aren't just isolated incidents. It points to more systematic issues and shows why that collective action is seen as so important.
So let's zoom out again. This specific, horrifying incident in Plano, what does it really tell us about the wider society? Why did this resonate so strongly?
Well, the sources really frame this as bringing the ongoing issue of racial intolerance and xenophobia into sharp focus, specifically against South Asian and immigrant communities. The reports often suggest a link, a correlation between this kind of aggressive public behavior and what they describe as divisive political rhetoric.
Okay.
The idea being not that the rhetoric directly caused this specific act, maybe, but that it helped create a climate. an atmosphere where some people felt perhaps more emboldened to act on existing prejudices, we saw a documented rise in these kinds of incidents.
That's a really important point about the climate versus direct causation.
Yes, though it's worth mentioning, some analyses we looked at also point to other things like socioeconomic stress, other anxieties.
Yeah.
They can feed into this too. It's usually a complex mix of factors, not just one thing.
Right. It's never that simple. So given that complexity, what was the broader public reaction, the community response overall, beyond that initial shock?
Oh, it was huge. And it lasted. Social media just erupted. You saw hashtags like hashtag stop Asian hate, hashtag go back racism, hashtag Indian American lives matter trending everywhere. It was this massive outpouring of support for the victims and just outrage. The sheer volume showed this widespread feeling of solidarity.
So not just online noise, but real sentiment.
Exactly. And beyond that, you had local political figures, even Indian diplomats making public statements condemning it. That shows you the international level of concern. Our sources also talk about how the Indian American community itself mobilized. They organized rallies, held seminars, really focused on raising awareness about racism here in the U.S. So all these different reactions together, they really underscore this deep concern and a pretty clear call for something to change, for real action.
You know, this deep dive into what happened in Plano, it's a chilling reminder, really, a necessary one maybe, that even with all our diversity, racism and xenophobia are unfortunately still very present. And they can show up in these incredibly painful public ways. It sort of pulls back the curtain on how divisive talk can have real-world consequences, the personal impact it has on people, on whole communities.
It really does. And this event, it just powerfully underscores the need for, well, several things. Better education about cultural diversity, for one. Stronger hate crime laws, yes, but also making sure they're consistently enforced. And maybe most important of all, a real conscious effort to build unity between communities.
So if you think about all this, maybe consider, how do these individual acts of intolerance, especially the ones that get amplified like